Hey guys, it's Areesa. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be making a piped buttercream cake. This is a really nice finish on a cake if you're not a fan of fondant or you just want something different, and it's actually pretty simple to do. This design will work for literally any occasion, but this particular one I'm making is a Christmas cake. It's for a really good friend of mine, so Miranda, I hope you and your family enjoyed the cake. But yeah, before we get started, please hit that subscribe button down below if you haven't already, and follow me on Instagram at Desserts by Areesa. Alright, let's get right into this cake.
So I started off with two 8-inch vanilla cakes and then leveled them off and sliced them in half. Then I'm taking some German buttercream, which is a custard-based buttercream. It's so good, and I'm filling my cake with that. And now that that's stacked up nice and tall, I'm giving it a crumb coat. I'm gonna let that chill and then give it a second coat of the buttercream. This coat really doesn't have to be perfect at all because we're gonna be piping over it anyways. Then I made some Italian meringue buttercream because although the German buttercream tastes amazing, I don't love the way that it looks. It has more of a yellow color to it, and I also find Italian meringue buttercream to be a bit easier to work with, but you can do this technique with any stiff buttercream. So I'm just starting by adding a thin layer on top of the cake and making sure it is nice and smooth. Then I'm just marking out where I want my piping to go to help make it a little more even. I spaced mine around 2 inches apart or so. And then I'm going in with a 1M tip, which is a large star-shaped tip, and then just piping back and forth between those markings. Now you can create lots of different variations of this cake just by changing up the piping tip that you use and keeping the technique exactly the same. I recently did a baby shower cake and created a ruffle effect with this technique, so I will leave that on the screen here in case you want to check that out and see what that looks like. Now I'm just scraping off some of the excess icing on top so that it matches the height of the cake. Now I'm adding a border by just piping straight up all around the top of the cake. So as you can see, at this point, the cake can literally be used for any occasion. But now we're going to make some chocolate decorations, and this is where you can easily customize the cake. So I'm starting with some white compound chocolate, which doesn't need to be tempered, and I'm just pouring that onto a sheet of acetate and smoothing that out. You don't want to go too thin on this so that the pieces hold their shape nicely. Now I'm taking some white chocolate and adding in just a little bit of dark chocolate to create a gingerbread color because I am going to be cutting out little gingerbread men from this chocolate. You can totally switch up the cookie cutters you use to match the occasion, so you could do hearts for Valentine's Day or pumpkins for Halloween, whatever works for you. So you want to start cutting into the chocolate after it's had a chance to sit for a bit and firm up, but before it gets completely solid. If you leave it for too long and it gets too hard, just break it up, melt it down again, and start over. Next, I'm going to cut out a larger piece of chocolate that I can write on. I'm going to write Merry Christmas, you can write Happy Birthday or whatever. And this is a great idea also if you're not very comfortable writing on cakes yet. If you're doing it on the chocolate and you make a mistake, it's really not a big deal. You can just cut out another piece of chocolate. Now I'm making a parchment cone to write with, so just take a triangle of parchment paper and wrap it around itself until the two outer corners come together, and just tuck the top part over to hold everything in place. And I'm just filling it with some melted red candy melts. And then I'm just taking the leftover red candy melts and making some little chocolate ornaments. And I'm just brushing on some gold luster dust to make them nice and shiny. Now I'm going to show you another easier way to make chocolate decorations, which is just to use a mold. These are pretty inexpensive and they are very easy to use. So for my snowflakes, I'm just going to dust the mold with some of that gold luster dust, which is totally optional, but I just like to add some gold sparkle. Then I'm taking a piping bag with some white compound chocolate in it. You can also use candy melts for this, and just piping that into the mold. Then you want to give it a little shake to get out any air bubbles and even everything out. Pop it in the fridge or freezer to let it set for a few minutes, and then just pop them right out of the mold. I'm adding a little extra luster dust to make them a little bit more gold, and that's all there is to it. And I'm just going to repeat that process one more time using some white chocolate mixed with a little bit of gel food coloring. Make sure you don't add too much food coloring though, or your chocolate will seize up. Then all that's left to do is arrange the pieces on top. And for a little extra pop of color, I just sprinkled on some red nonpareils. And we're done!
Okay guys, here is the finished cake. It turned out super pretty. I love the piped buttercream on the side. I think it's a really nice technique, and as you guys saw, it's not too difficult. So I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up. Let me know in the comments below if you have any questions or what you want to see next, and I will see you in my next video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye!